What's up, guys? Welcome back to Touchdown Times. It's your boy Eli, aka Savvy Sav. Got my co-host as well, Andrew, aka Alo on the mic.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, sir. All right, glad to be back. Glad to be here. All right, so we got our quick little week two recap and then our week three preview this week. Crazy weekend of football, man. We had 10 games on the morning slate. I think they were saying that's the most we're going to have all season. So it was action packed. A lot of things were going down and a lot of close games too. So we'll just dive straight into that. Let's jump into it. So the first game we had was the Thursday night. Bills at the Dolphins. Bills end up taking the win 31-10. And man, that was a tough one to watch. Very rough for all Dolphins fans out there. Tua just, he got lit up, and that there's a lot of questions about his possible retirement, meeting with neurologists, and diving into the fantasy side, a lot of worries now if you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and then for the Bills, this is a big win for them. That puts them on top of their division. Josh Allen didn't even need to do much out there. James Cook had a day. Um, but what do you think of this, man? What did you think about the overall game, the concussion, and kind of the projection for both these teams in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So this was a good division matchup for both these teams here. These are going to be the two teams that are battling it out for the top of the division here. Bills took it away over 31 over 10. They kind of ran away with it. I would say second, third quarter, kind of ran away with it. The Bills move on to 2-0, and the Dolphins fall to a 1-1 on Thursday night primetime football. Like you said, Josh Allen didn't need to do a lot personally to get the job done. I think once Tua was out, it kind of solidified it, and you could tell just in all these Dolphins, players out there. Tua in his concussions history, this is his third one in the last 3, 4 years, I want to say, and each of them has just looked progressively worse. And it didn't look like a bad tackle. Damar Hamlin was the one tackling him, and it didn't look crazy. Um, you know, bad. Like it just looked like he instead of trying to slide like a quarterback should be doing in the NFL, he tried to fight for the extra yards, and it wasn't even close. He'd already had the first down, and it went down kind of wrong, and it just wasn't his day. 17 completions, 145 yards, 3 TDs. Now, a lot of these analysts and experts out there are calling for retirement, and Tua came out and said that that's nowhere near, in the future for him, not this season at least. Devon Achane, kind of picked it up for the Dolphins. 22 carries, 96 yards, 7 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. So it, it was hard to spark a lot of life back into the Dolphins after Tua went out. Skylar Thompson is probably going to be starting this week for the Dolphins. We'll see how that goes. I think they're on the road. Overall, you know, good win for the Bills, and sad to see Tua go out that way. Thoughts on this one?
I mean, yeah, 100% agree. Honestly, a lot of this brings up memories of Andrew Luck, when he was just going through a lot of injury history and decided to just hang it up out of the blue. And it was understandable. You got to look out for your health first. But hey, if Tua and his family decides that they want to continue on and he believes he can still succeed in the NFL, then all the power to him. So I wish him the best. And yeah, man.
Quick question about this one here. We've seen the Bills play 2 weeks in a row now, and with that, it just seems as though James Cook seems to be, majority of that offense along with Josh Allen, and it doesn't seem like Josh Allen has a clear-cut wide receiver one target. We were thinking that was going to be Dalton Kincaid going into the season. And what are your thoughts on the receivers that the Bills have right now, and as far as fantasy purposes, what are you doing for that?
I mean, I'm not really confident in any of having any of the receivers, honestly.
Hmm.
Maybe they'd be in a flex position if you really needed it, need to fill in, especially with all these injuries, need to fill in someone for that gap. But James Cook is the man. It's probably him and Josh Allen you for sure starting. And even with Kincaid, you probably have to roll with him. But Knox is still kind of eating up some of his time and his targets. So overall, it's just tough, man. But maybe Shakir. You'd think Curtis Samuel would have something, but yeah, it's just not a whole lot. So I personally would stay away. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, yeah, I have Kincaid, and It's just I just thought they would have a better connection, going into the season with him being, the more veteran, receiver out of that receiver group, even out of the tight ends, I mean, and the receivers. So we'll see how it unfolds. But luckily I got Brock Bowers to plug in there, and he's been doing pretty good week to week. So
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. So moving on from the Thursday night game, we'll get into the Sunday slate. First game we'll kind of want to go over really quick is one of our upset calls of the week that worked out. We had the Buccaneers beating the Lions 20-16. This overall was, I think, a very entertaining game. Big surprise. You didn't think the Bucs would have it in them, but they came out and played a hell of a game. And the question is, Detroit Lions. Are they going to still be a playoff team this year? Is this a thing to worry about? Are they not playing and connected as well as they were towards the end of the year last year? What are your thoughts on this, Andrew?
yeah, I definitely still think they're a playoff team. It was a close game, and I think Baker Mayfield is just he has the clutch when it comes to that fourth quarter comeback. He has the guts in him to go down, and if he even has to take it himself and pick up the yards with his feet, he definitely can do so. And I think we saw that, right. A lot of this game was Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin came away with 7 receptions, 117 yards, a touchdown. And Baker Mayfield, 185 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Rashad White was pretty non-existent. I think he walked away with an injury in this game. But overall, like I still think they're a playoff team. Jared Goff, 34 completions, 307 yards. This went to overtime, and it was a great game. Anytime that a quarterback puts up over 300 yards, you're thinking they're probably going to win this game, and it just came down to who had the last possession, and Baker Mayfield was able to capitalize on it. In my opinion, Jahmyr Gibbs did really well as well, 84 yards out of 13 carries. Him and Montgomery still seem to split that backfield, but although David Montgomery gets those goal line touches, in my opinion. St. Brown showed up this week, 11 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown. So that was great for fantasy owners for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Overall, great game. And I do think that the Detroit Lions are a playoff team.
Nice, nice. Yeah, my thoughts on St. Brown. I have him in a couple leagues, and this is what I wanted to see. The man had 19 targets on the day. He was outclassing everyone else on that team. But with that, thoughts on Sam Laporta. Is he a bust this year? Is he going to
Ooh.
be more involved in this offense? Or, is it more going to be just St. Brown and kind of just play off each week with matchups and how they do?
You know what? I've been seeing, I've watched both the games for the Lions the back-to-back weeks, and when Jared Goff has over 300 yards passing and Laporta does not get the type of action that you expect from a top three tight end pick, you start to worry as you pick as a fantasy manager, right? With that being said, Jamo's getting a lot of targets. We saw it in week one. He still continues to get a lot of targets and a lot of receptions. I think there's just a lot of offensive weapons on the Detroit Lions. I think it's going to be, one of those teams where Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they'll eat pretty consistently. Jared Goff, he'll eat pretty consistently, but when it comes to receivers, it's going to be Laporta will have a week, St. Brown will have a week, JMO will have a week when it comes to the receivers. So it just you never really know. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be that number one target. He will always be that number one target, but it's also going to please. Goff's also going to play who's open and what the game plan is, and if they have a good corner covering shadowing St. Brown, maybe Laporta will emerge, maybe JMO will emerge. So we'll see how it happens, how it plays out week one. It is a little concerning with Laporta, but you drafted him top three. I think you got to kind of roll with it at least for the next 2 weeks and see how things shake down. And if you need to pivot, maybe you go pick up Njoku right now, and he's come back from an injury, and maybe in 2 weeks you revisit and you ask yourself, is Laporta still a top three tight end? Should I be looking elsewhere?
Yeah, exactly. Tight ends are a very hot commodity right now because they are either getting injured or not producing with what you thought. So it's tough out there for those owners. Moving into the next game, this one was a surprising win. And also another upset pick that we had. The Saints going into Dallas and beating the Cowboys 44-19. This was a crazy offensive game on for the Saints. Derek Carr had a pretty solid day, but Alvin Kamara, that man was the one who stepped up, and his stats were insane. For the carries, he had 20 carries for 150 yards, three touchdowns, and then also had a receiving touchdown. The man had a four-peat today. It's crazy. So, and yeah, the Cowboys just had a tough time keeping up. And, this was not what we expected out of their offense, but maybe the Saints defense is the real deal. They were looking very prime out there. They were giving Dak a lot of trouble, two interceptions on the day for him. Um, but yeah, overall, I think a great win for the Saints. As an Eagles fans, I'm a little nervous seeing them next week, but also, hey, props for beating the Cowboys. Love seeing that. So, what are your thoughts on this, Andrew?
Yeah, the Saints go marching into Dallas, 44-19. They move on to 2-0, led by Derek Carr, over 240 yards passing, and he had some bombs. We've seen it back to back with Rashid Shaheed, 96 yards off of four receptions and one touchdown. I think having, those deep balls keeps those defensive backs, back, and it allows them to open up the field for those short underneath passes and those passes to Alvin Kamara, and just moving the ball down efficiently and effectively, especially against a tough Dallas, defense here. You see Micah Parsons and a lot of these other, good defensive guys that the Cowboys have, and it just wasn't enough to stop the Saints. 44 points. I think they've had over 40 points in the last 2 weeks. I'm riding the hype right now. I think they've done a lot of work to execute their game plan, and it's showing off. And Alvin Kamara alone, I don't think he should have been a fourth rounder. Like he's the number one RB in fantasy right now after pretty back to back good weeks for him. At least let's see how this goes. I know I have him in two of my leagues. I played against him this week, which was really rough. It was a love hate type of every time they scored I was cheering, every time they scored I was not. So it was hard. But on the other side of the ball, Dak Prescott, 279 yards, one touchdown, two interceptions. I think turnovers played a factor in this ball game, and they just couldn't have a running game going. Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, 30 yards wasn't a lot off of seven carries for him. CD Lamb, four receptions, 90 yards, one touchdown. He did have that one where he split the defenders and went up the sideline. That was nice to see for fantasy managers out there that drafted CD Lamb with their first picks, second overall, third overall, if not first. So it was nice to see that. I had him in a couple of leagues. Overall, I think the Saints are on a roll. And they go on and they face on a stumbling Philly offense, and we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to that game. This was definitely an upset that I called on the podcast last week. So both of our upsets really hit, and it was nice to see.
Nice, nice. Yeah, definitely a good one out there. Okay, moving into the next game. This was also a big upset that a lot of people did not see coming. 49ers went into Minnesota, played them, and the Vikings came out on top, 22-17. For the Niners side, they are pretty injury ridden right now. Did not have CMC. He was another scratch, and now he's on the IR. Debo out. He got hurt during the game, and that's kind of tough. And yeah, it just seems like they're going to be maybe struggling a little bit. Luckily, they are going and playing the Rams next week, who are also very injury ridden right now. So it could be a battle of just two beaten up teams. But for this one, they cannot get over the Vikings hump. I believe they've been losing to the Vikings consistently the past few years, and just something about him, something about that team just gets to him. Sam Darnold, is he the real deal now? Is he back into form with what we originally envisioned when he came to the NFL? I would say so. I would say having an actually good supporting cast around him with competent coaching, who will utilize his strengths. I think that's the key thing here. And then when you got Justin Jefferson catching the ball for you, that man can just do numbers. Did you see that 97-yard catch that he had?
Yeah.
Insane, insane play, insane his overall yeah, great day for Justin Jefferson owners. You know you're happy and you're gonna be totally fine with having Sam Darnold as a QB for him there. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this one, man?
Yeah, I think I think the Niners felt the effects of both traveling as well as doing without CMC. Debo is hurt now too, so that we'll see how that plays out this next upcoming week. Hopefully, Brandon Ayuk can step up and bring value to the team. Where he signed a huge contract and it dragged out all offseason, and it's time to finally show up. With Debo out and CMC out, it's still impressive to see the workload that Jordan Mason's getting and for him to still capitalize on it. 20 carries, 100 yards, one touchdown. I just think the pass game wasn't there for Brock Purdy. 12 completions, 131 yards, and one touchdown. I think they need to do better. And some of that comes down to clock management and just the ball control. On the other side of the ball, Sam Darnold at home, that's got to feel nice. 17 completions, 268 yards, practically doubled what Brock Purdy did in the air. Two touchdowns. He did throw an interception. However, they were, the defense was ready to rally back on that. One thing that's a little concerning for me on the Vikings offense is the running back situation. I think there's not a real clear cut running back situation going on. I think it's kind of committee right now. Ty Chandler had 10 carries, 84 yards. It's not what we'd expect out of the RB2 on that team, but he definitely contributed to the offense there. Justin Jefferson, like you said, that huge bomb, four receptions, 133 yards, and a touchdown. He did walk away with an injury. If you're a fantasy manager out there, be cautious and just watch that he had an injury. Walking away from that game there. But overall, great to see Sam Darnold have success in Minnesota and with the Vikings there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, definitely a surprising win there. Moving on to overtime game that we had this weekend. We had the Seahawks and the Patriots going at it over in Foxborough. Seahawks ended up coming down top 23-20. I was watching this game and these two starting quarterbacks, they kind of just make me think of you got signature select versus great value for quarterbacks. It's just kind of just your standard run of the mill guys. They get the job done. They're journeymen. They've been here for a while. Nothing flashy. You're not going to get crazy production or numbers out of them, but they go in there and do what they need to do. Um, but yeah, I was kind of surprised that the Patriots put up another decent fight in this game. It was a tough loss on their end, but with the Seahawks, even with Kenneth Walker being out, DK Metcalf had a great day, which compared to last weekend, he needed it. And Zach Charbonnet, I think he also he was able to step up, and I did start him. I was a little wary, but he ended up getting in there, scoring a touchdown, and I think filling in the role just nicely. So I think even without Kenneth Walker, they should be at a decent spot. And I gave Geno Smith a little bit of crap right now, but 327 yards in the day is still not bad. Now the Patriots defense, I think, could be a little sus, but yeah, they were able to come out on top. And yeah, overall, I don't have too much more to say about this one. It kind of was popping up a little bit on red zone, and then came up towards the end with overtime. But do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, like you said, I think the Patriots they put up a good fight and something that we weren't expecting, especially an overtime game for them. The Seahawks are now leading the top of their division, 2-0. And this is over a tough division, with the Niners, with the Rams, and so it's impressive to see the Seahawks coming out on top on that. Same thing with Zach Charbonnet that you had. I put him in for Kenneth Walker, and he had a great game, able to fill that role. DK Metcalf had a great game. Smith Jigba had an amazing game as well. I think he had 22 points for fantasy or somewhere close to that. I knew going into the season that he was going to take over Tyler Lockett's role. I just wasn't sure about the target share and how that was going to shake down. I think as we get towards the end of this year and even into next year, I think we're going to see Tyler Lockett take for more and more step back, and only really step up if in fact someone's hurt or they need someone to fill that role. But I see Smith Jigba taking a bigger role in the Seahawks offense. It was great to see Zach Charbonnet, fill that role and get a touchdown and, become fantasy relevant. I started him as well as in my flex. Stevenson still seems to be that lead back for the Patriots. And there doesn't seem to be one clear-cut receiver that Jacoby Brissett is going to. I think he does tend to favor, the shorter mid-distance and, those tight ends. So we did see Hunter Henry kind of emerge from that tight end spot. Maybe a good, waiver wire addition if you're hurting a tight end. He had 8 receptions, 109 yards, and it doesn't look like Jacoby Brissett is launching it downfield. So might be something to look into if you need a tight end. He put up 109 yards out there. So great game. Good overtime game. And congrats to Geno Smith and company for coming out on top.
Yep, exactly. And from Andre Stevenson, I'm very happy as an owner right now. I feel like he is being heavily involved. Because barring any injuries, I think he's going to be a solid running back throughout the year to hold on to. Um, but yeah, okay. So moving on to the next game. This was another upset of the week. This is crazy. Just so many upsets were happening this weekend that RIP to a lot of Survivor owners that had these teams, and for us as well. This was one of our teams. Uh,
Yeah.
the Ravens went down and lost to the Raiders, 26-23. Tough one for the Ravens. They had it in the bag. I thought they were doing well, but something something just lit a fire under the Raiders towards the end of that game because it seemed like they were unstoppable. Their offense was driving it down the field, and they were putting so much pressure on Lamar Jackson. I felt like he couldn't get anything done.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just want to say, props to them. Man, it's just tough way for us to lose on that. I think we had a parlay that was riding with the Ravens as well. They needed to go -3. They couldn't get that done. And yeah, there were just a few times where I thought it was going to happen. But what are your thoughts on this? I kind of want to hear your take on yeah, Lamar Jackson versus Gardner Minshew. What was this matchup like for you?
Yeah. So going into this, I think we all kind of thought, the Ravens had this in the bag. They needed a bounce back game, and the Raiders were that team where they're traveling to Baltimore, and this was going to be an easy win for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, especially after a tough loss in Week 1. It looks like they're right there in each of these games, right? Isaiah Likely the week before, one touchdown away from coming out on top. Here, they're 3 points away from overtime or pushing into overtime. I really think the defense got after Lamar Jackson and the offense in this game here. We saw a sack with Max Crosby, and he's just leading that team and putting the culture into the Raiders locker room on the field, and just the captain of that defense. With that being said, Gardner Minshew, 30 completions, 274 yards, a touchdown, an interception. We saw in the game that after he had that interception, Crosby came back and basically told him, "Hey, shake it off. You're good. We believe in you. We're gonna do our part. You do your part." And then I think it came together at the end. Derrick Henry got a little bit more usage this game. 18 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. He still, is fantasy relevant with the goal lines that he gets. I think the interception that Lamar Jackson threw, played a factor in here as well. And then the management of the ball a little bit. Zay Flowers, 7 receptions, 91 yards, a touchdown. The offense, I think, was there. It was more so clock management, who's having the ball last, and way to capitalize on some of these big third downs that they needed. It's overall, it was a great game for the Raiders. They needed that, especially winning, one of the higher teams or higher spot teams in the AFC, such as the Ravens, or so what we thought. But it seems like the AFC North is just just out there right now, right? We have the Steelers leading the AFC North. They're 2-0. And then the Browns are 1-1. Ravens are 0-2. Cincy's 0-2. It's interesting to see the start of the season for the AFC North, because it was going to be such a tough division going into 2024. Devontae Adams had a great game as well. 9 receptions, 110 yards, a touchdown. I think that's the go-to guy for the Raiders, and it continues to be. Overall, great game. Glad to see that the Raiders came out on top, especially as a Steeler fan here. But yeah, great game.
Yeah, crazy weekend for upsets. So I just want to say props to all of our Raiders fans, all of our friends who are Raiders fans. I know they're probably having a day. There's hope. There's hope. So believe in the magic, right? All right. So moving into one of the last few games, we'll go over the Bengals and the Chiefs. Bengals went into Arrowhead, and sadly, they did not take away this game. They lost 25-26. Very close one. Very close one. But I believe this is a real rivalry between these two teams. I know they always love talking smack, especially the Bengals about the Chiefs. And it just seemed like, yeah, feel like the Bengals woke up this game. They went out there much more level-headed and ready to go than last week. And I think if they would have had T. Higgins, I think they could have won this game.
Mm.
Just lacking that extra part to their offense just kind of partially puts them at that disadvantage. And sadly, they couldn't really get Chase going as much. You could tell Gesicki ended up having leading the target share and the receptions. Um, but these Chiefs, man, I don't understand. They just keep on getting these good chances and they keep getting these lucky breaks and winning it. Patrick Mahomes didn't look crazy on the day either. Two touchdowns and two interceptions. Those turnovers have been looking a little rough. Pacheco sadly got hurt during this game. Messed up his right leg, so he's going to be out for a bit. But still had a pretty solid day with 19 carries, 90 yards, no score. But Rashee Rice seems like the clear-cut guy that Mahomes is going to. 14 receptions on the day, passes over 100 yards, and has a touchdown. All I can say is, as a Travis Kelce owner for one of my leagues, it's kind of tough. Tough to see because it seems like he's really taking a step back this year. He is not going to be the go-to guy for Mahomes, at least from what we've seen so far. But it seems like Rashee Rice is going to be that guy. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think these are back-to-back weeks for the Chiefs, over the Ravens as well as over the Bengals, where they're huge matchups, huge AFC matchups for the Chiefs, and it's starting to look to me like Patrick Mahomes is the new Tom Brady in the way that the refs lean towards, and the way flags are drawn and whatnot. I'm not saying that they gave him the game, but there's definitely some questionable decisions from the refs in this game, in my opinion, that just went the Chiefs' way. With that being said, they're everybody's saying, oh, they're coming close. People should be worried about the Bengals. People should be worried about the Ravens. I find that hard to believe because, you know, Patrick Mahomes threw two interceptions. This is not the playoff Chiefs and Super Bowl Chiefs that we're seeing. They don't throw two interceptions and turn the ball over, two or three times and still walk away with a win. They eked by this win, and I think this game would be different, like you said, if in fact they got Jamar Chase going, if they had T Higgins, if they had other, maybe deeper threats where they had to, back off the line a little bit and play the deep ball for to Cincy. I think it would be a different game. Overall, it was a close game. It was a close game. I think the decisions kind of went towards the Chiefs' way, and some of these penalties set them up for some good field goal range, and they came out on top. I don't think Patrick Mahomes can keep continuing to play like this. I think he's had interceptions in the past two games. With that being said, I'm now wondering how this dynamic of this offense is going to change with Isaiah Pacheco out, right? We don't know who is going to be the backup running back. They have a rookie. He's 21 years old. I think he's more so the, put your head down and run through someone type of ball carrier. And then they have Samaje Perine. What's
I
his
think
name?
Samaje Perine.
Yeah. And he's more of the pass blocking, pass catching type of back. He's a little bit more veteran status. And then they're working out Kareem Hunt. So there's a lot of factors going to the backfield. I think either way, it's going to be a committee backfield for the next 6 weeks. And I don't think Isaiah Pacheco comes back in 6 weeks, to be honest. So if you do have Isaiah Pacheco, I would be looking for alternative. I would be looking for a solid running back, maybe make a trade if you're loaded on wide receivers for a Josh Jacobs or, somebody that you can plug into that RB spot and kind of set it and forget it type of person. Rashee Rice still is that clear cut wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes. And we'll see how Xavier Worthy, continues to develop throughout the season. Mike Gesicki, maybe another one of those streaming tight ends that you go pick up, 7 receptions, 91 yards, at least until they could work out what's going on with Jamar Chase and and T Higgins. Or until they're healthy. But that's kind of my thoughts on this. It is a true rivalry AFC matchup for the Chiefs and the Bengals. Looking forward to this towards the end of the season as well.
Yes, sir. Nice. Also, I realized I misspoke. Rasheed Rice did not have that many receptions. It had only 5 receptions for 75 yards, but still a touchdown. But 14 was a lot. So I had my notes wrong, but yeah. So moving into one of the last games that we'll talk about. Steelers went on and beat the Broncos 13-6. Andrew, I'll just let you take it away. How did your Steelers do on this one? How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, yeah. Going into this, I did feel strongly about the Steelers coming out on top. I wanted to see them go down and score, and I personally thought it was going to be a Najee Harris type of score, or a George Pickens score. That's I think what we would have thought out of being a Steelers fan. It ended up being Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington's like 6'4", 250 pounds. He's a big guy. He was going up against a 5'9", 190 pound safety, and it was just a mismatch. So, way to take advantage of that, and way to get some points on the board. I saw this stat the other day that said that Chris Boswell has more points than all of the Giants has as a team. So that was kind of funny, but at the same time, I'm thinking, man, we need to put the ball in the end zone. We need to capitalize when we get into the red zone because we're getting there and then we're kicking field goals, and I'm glad to see we're coming out on top, but I'd like to see more production and more touchdowns out of the offense personally. Justin Fields, he leads the AFC as far as quarterback ratings and yards per attemption. He had 13 completions, 117 yards, a touchdown. Najee Harris, 17 carries, 69 yards. They're working Jalen Warren back in. He was injured. I think we're going to start to see more of that 65-35 or 60-40 split, maybe even eating into a 55 45 split as they work Jalen Warren back in. Pat Fryermuth had a great game as well. Good to see him involved. He's another tight end that if you're struggling at that position, he might be able to help you out. I think he has a tough matchup this week. But 4 receptions, 40 yards. So a good game by the Steelers, a good solid game to go on the road and capitalize and win. I think they put a lot of pressure on Bo Nix. He still had a great game, 20 completions, 246 yards for the rookie. They just really shut down the run, in my opinion. Javonte Williams had 11 carries, 17 yards. He did get a goal line touchdown. Then Josh Reynolds, 4 receptions, 93 yards. Just wasn't enough to put the ball in the end zone for the Denver Broncos, and they were limited to field goals as well. I think we just had better defense, better ball control, and our offense came out to play when it counted in the red zone for this game here. Yeah, I think we're gonna roll with the hot hand and leave it to Justin Fields. I would have liked to see Russell Wilson come back to play this for a revenge game. I think he got a petty ball, game win ball when he didn't really play, which is kind of disappointing. I think the culture for the Steelers shouldn't be just like petty ball and like, giving him the game ball because he used to play there. I know he wanted to play, he was injured. And maybe it's the voice on off the field that they did that, the reason why they did that. But overall, great road win for the Steelers here. Glad to see him start 2-0 and lead the top of the division for the AFC North.
Yeah, right. Who would have thought that already being top of the division now. So hopefully they can hold it off and keep it there. And just their offense is probably needs to get going a little more, but you guys had time for that to figure it out. As long as the defense is looking stout, you guys should be able to handle your business against especially the lower tier teams. And I would say Denver's now. I put them in the lower tier now. They're not doing a whole lot. Um, so really quick, I'll just give a quick talk about the game that was last night. I know we didn't prep too much on it, but tough loss for the Birds. I don't really know what happened. Well, I do, but it felt like at the time it all happened so fast. Uh, just sloppy play, really sloppy defense towards the end for the Eagles. We ended up losing 22-21 to the Atlanta Falcons. Um, just I don't know, man. It was a lot of dumb decisions from not kicking a field goal when we had the chance to early in the game. Those are the points that we needed. Surprisingly, down towards the end, we could have definitely used those points. Um, and then just through and through, I'm concerned about Jalen Hurts. He's made some, bad mistakes as a quarterback, throwing that, game-sealing interception and just choosing to decide to throw the ball to Barkley. I understand why you do that at the end of the game. They're having his hot hand. He could go in and get that first down, but that's risky every time you throw because when you're trying to reduce clock, and eat up as much as you can of it. If once you drop it, that saves them a timeout, and now you're stuck just kicking a field goal. And I don't know, just overall a pretty embarrassing loss. Just absolutely stunned. I'm looking on the percentages of the win probability, and the Eagles were at a 97.6% chance to win the game towards the end in the fourth quarter. And then it just a huge one of the biggest flips I've seen probably this season, jumping to the other side and having Atlanta win. So props to Atlanta for not giving up. I think they definitely capitalized on it. Kirk was able to take it down with time remaining, still, and they scored very easily. So when they played their prevent defense, it just didn't work out. They were able to just kind of read between the lines, and Kirk just carved them up. So embarrassing loss. Don't really want to talk about it much more, but yeah, man, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like you said, kicking that field goal early on, I think that was a big mistake for the Eagles early on. And then the a big drop by Saquon Barkley towards the end. I think those two things were key factors for the Eagles losing. It's not something we would have expected. But then on the other side of the ball, Kirk Cousins just tore him up towards the end of the game and moving the ball down, almost easily just to put him in a good position to win and making that game winning throw. So yeah, tough loss for you guys. And give some life into the Atlanta when they need it. So tough loss, but we're going to move on to week two matchups and top action. We analyze and preview the most exciting matchups of week three. Primetime games Thursday night. We have the Patriots. They are 1-1. They're going to be traveling to they're going to be traveling to New Jersey to take on the Jets. New York, New Jersey. The Jets are 1-1 with Aaron Rodgers leading the way. The spread is -6.5 for the Jets, and you can catch this on Amazon Prime. What are your thoughts on the Jets and the Patriots and this game here?
Not the best Thursday night game, but still a division rivalry, and both these teams at 1-1. Whoever wins could kind of help their trajectories for the rest of the season. Uh, for this one, I'll give it to the Jets. I think they just have more talent, especially defensively. They should be able to put a solid stop with Jacoby Brissett and company. We were just talking about they don't really have a lot of weapons on there. They kind of shuffle around. And yeah, I think they should, especially their run defense too. I think they should be able to kind of stop Ramondre Stevenson and I believe Antonio Gibson. So I'll give it to them. I do think it's going to be a tight one though. I could see it
Mhm.
being like a 3-point game. So with the spread, I'm going to have to give it to the Patriots to cover that spread. But overall, I think Jets win that game.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Aaron Rodgers goes in and he keeps the momentum going for the Jets, and it's a home game for them. They're not really traveling, and I think it will be close, like you said. I think the Jets have a good run defense. I think they have a linebacker that's hurt right now. We got to see who's filling in for that role, and then see how Ramondre Stevenson and the coaching staff for the Patriots react, and their game strategy for this game. I do think the Jets come out on top. I think it's going to be a closer game, like you said. Tune into Amazon Prime to watch that on Thursday night.
Nice. Moving into the Sunday night football. We had the Chiefs 2-0 going and playing the Falcons. I believe we're 1-1. The Chiefs spread is at 3.5. And yeah, I think with the Falcons beating the Eagles last night, it kind of boosted up their win probability, at least people giving them a little more respect. So I think the spreads got a little closer now. But yeah, I think with the Chiefs being a little injury riddled, um, we're losing Pacheco. I know they're bringing on Kareem Hunt, so this might be an interesting matchup to see. I still think the Chiefs. It's hard to bet against them. I'm gonna have to say they're gonna win this, but I think the Falcons will put up a fight. I I think they still played pretty sloppily last night against the Eagles, so I could see the Chiefs probably taking advantage of that where they can with their defense. But man, but that spread though, the 3.5, I could see it being another close one. I mean, the Chiefs barely lost to or barely beat the Bengals, so it could be another one of those 1, 2 point games that they barely eke out. Yeah, I'm gonna say Falcons cover that spread, but I'm gonna say the Chiefs take it. What about you?
Ugh. I think this is the game that they need to figure out what's going on in the backfield for the Chiefs, right? And it's going to take some time to figure that out. Obviously this week and into next week, but this is a game that I think the Chiefs have. I don't think they're going to be launching the ball down the field and doing some big plays. I think they're going to keep it short underneath. Maybe get Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce more involved this week, just because the Falcons do have such a great secondary back there. So I think, they're going to figure out what's going on with the run game. The Chiefs are, and they're going to try to get Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelce more involved in this game, in my opinion. I think the Chiefs do cover that spread. I think the Chiefs, cover the spread and they're winning. They're winning by a touchdown, if not more, in my opinion. Um, and and I think Kirk Cousins, I think if he can find his groove in the offense like he did towards the end of the game with Philly, I can see him carving up a little bit of the Chiefs as well, as far as defense goes. So we'll see how it turns out. Tune into Peacock to watch this game on Sunday night. But I think the Chiefs win by at least a touchdown for this game and move on to 3-0.
Okay, nice, nice. I think it should be a fun one. It wasn't too excited at first, but thinking about it more, it should be a pretty fun game. Monday night, we have the classic two games on Monday night.
A
Usually
double header.
beginning of the season, we get those double headers. So try to book out your Monday nights. Maybe go hit up a bar, go to Buffalo Wild Wings or something, and catch these games. We have the Jags taking on the Bills. The spread is at 5.5. Bills didn't have to do a whole lot to beat the Dolphins last week. I know there's that injury, but still seemed like they didn't have to really put up a whole lot of production. Um, man, I'm gonna say the Bills should be able to handle the Jags pretty well. I think their defense is pretty stout. And Trevor Lawrence has been not been looking too hot lately. So I'm gonna give it to the Bills. With that spread, I'm gonna say the Bills cover that spread too. I think they win by a touchdown. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can see the Bills covering by a touchdown. I think this is going to be a good opportunity for Trevor Lawrence and Etienne to really step up. And if they fall in this game, it's going to be really hard to bounce back this season for them. It's just not a good. It's not good for the momentum. It's not good for the culture. It's not good for what they're trying to do to be a good team and with a winning record over there in Jacksonville. So I would I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say that the Jags take it, and that's just because I just want to see the downfall of the Bills, and I want to see Trevor Lawrence and Etienne do well. They haven't gotten Christian Kirk involved at all the last two games, and it's just a really rough start for Trevor Lawrence. I think he's getting to be that quarterback that got paid like he was supposed to be a top five quarterback in the league, and we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it. So I'm hoping the Jags and Trevor Lawrence comes back. I'm gonna say the Jags win by a field goal, and they bring the Bills down back to earth, and drop them to a 2-1 record here. So that's my thoughts. Tune into ESPN to watch that one on Monday night. Or NFL Plus if you do have that as well. It's going to be on there. I think we have another matchup. The Commanders. They travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. The Bengals are 0-2. Spread is -7.5 for the Bengals. So this is a good bounce back game for the Bengals, right? I think this is going to be a finally healthy. I hope they get T. Higgins back. I hope Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are on the same connection and they have the bounce back game they need to start their season off with a win. And I think it's the same situation as the Jags, right? Where they're both 0-2 teams and they need to get this win to start, down the right path of a winning record. So I think the Bengals come away on top and they beat the Commanders. I do think they need to contain Jaden Daniels. He seems to be a running type of quarterback. And I think that's a lot of where his fantasy value is brought is these running situations where he can run and use his legs. If they can do that, I think they come out on top as well as the offense gets going. So, your thoughts on the Commanders traveling to Cincy to take on the Bengals?
I think the Commanders are a spicy team. I think they can show a lot of good flashes. And I think they have a shot. They have a shot here. The Bengals, I think, are streaky. They can be show up and play really well, like they did against the Chiefs, and then show up and essentially shit the bed, like playing the Pats that first week. So I guess it all depends on injury status, if guys are coming back. I like the Washington Commanders covering this spread. I think it'll be within a touchdown. I think they'll keep it close, and maybe the Bengals win it right at the end. But yeah, I'm liking the commies. I'm liking they're covering the spread. I'll say the Bengals win, but yeah, I think the Commanders keep it close in this one.
Perfect. Awesome. That wraps up our primetime games. Thursday night, Sunday night, and doubleheader on Monday. Some of the other fun matchups and quick hits that we got going for week 3. We have the 49ers. They're 1-1. They're traveling to the SoFi Stadium here in LA to take on the Rams. The Rams are 0-2. The spread is -7.5. What are your thoughts? Just keep it brief, maybe one statement and the winner here.
49ers and Rams, both injury riddled. I'll give it to the Niners to win it, but I think the Rams keep it close, so they're going to cover the spread.
Perfect. I agree. I think the Niners come away on top, and Brandon Ayuk has a game. I think the Rams, Demarcus Robinson steps up, but it's not going to be enough with Matthew Stafford, and they cover that spread. Moving on to the Ravens, they're 0-2. They are traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Cowboys coming off a loss, 1-1. The spread is -1 for the Ravens. This is going to be a good game to tune into. They both got a lot to bounce back on, and I think the Ravens come away on top for this one personally. They're in that same position with the Bengals and Jacksonville where they need a win. I think this is where they get it, and they do it against a tough Cowboys defense. They spark that momentum, spark that winning record here for the Ravens, and we see the Raven football the way it's supposed to be played here. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think just on that fact alone, Ravens need this win because they haven't even played their division yet, and that's already going to be a straight grinder for them. So I'm going to give it to the Ravens. I think they take out the Cowboys, even though Cowboys at home. I'm thinking the Ravens. This is their comeback game.
Perfect. Chargers, they're 1-1. They are traveling to the Steel City to take on the Steelers. Steelers are 2-0. The spread is -2 for the Steelers. You already know my vote. I'm going the Pittsburgh Steelers all the way. I think they had the defense to shut down J.K. Dobbins and Harborough and his run game. I think the Steelers win it and they move on to 3-0. They win by at least a field goal here with Chris Boswell kicking it. Thoughts
Yeah,
on it?
I'm gonna ride the same thing. I know we're agreeing on a lot, but yeah, I'm gonna say the Steelers. They haven't let me down yet. I've been kind of putting money on the side with them, so I think they should have this. I think they cover that spread, and Chargers just don't have enough on offense. I think to be able to handle their defense.
Awesome. Dolphins, they are 1-1. They are traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 2-0, top of their division. The spread is -4.5 for the Seahawks. My thoughts on this one: Tua's out, Skylar Thompson's in. It's going to be a rough game. I think they're going to lean on the run in this, and Devon Achane will have a good game. They're still going to get the quick passes out to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. I just don't think it'll be enough to take over the Seahawks. It's Seahawks are playing at home, and Geno Smith just came off a 300-yard passing. They get Kenneth Walker back, and they have the weapons with Smith Jigba and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I think the Seahawks take it and continue on to 3-0 and dominating their division.
Nice. I'm gonna go on the opposite side. I think the Dolphins might be able to. I think with the week of practicing with Skylar Thompson, maybe getting their groove together, and then getting scheming up a little better with Waddle and Hill, as well as Achane out there doing his thing. Yeah, I think their offense can still be potent if they really put it together, and I think their defense may step it up and try to fill in where they can with Tua being out, and they might try to right the ship while they wait for Tua to return healthy.
Awesome. The Eagles, they are 1-1 after a tough loss to Atlanta. They're traveling to the Saints in the Superdome to take on the Saints. They are 2-0. The Saints have the spread of -2.5. Is that right?
Yeah, it flipped.
Okay.
It was the Eagles until they lost, and then the spread flipped to the Saints.
Okay, just want to double check that. Yeah, this one I think this one's hard, man. This one's really hard. This one's tough. it's really tough because the Saints have put up such good production in back-to-back weeks, and it doesn't seem like a fluke. With that being said, I do think the Eagles are a better team when they have AJ Brown, when they have that deep threat, and we'll see how it plays out. This one's really tough. I want to be on your side and say the Eagles, but last week I chose the Saints and they came through to me. I think this is going to be an interesting one to watch this week. Is this Eagles and Saints? I'm gonna go. Dang. I'm gonna go with the Saints, man. I'm gonna go with the Saints, and I know that's tough to hear, but I'm gonna go with the Saints just because they have such huge offensive production the past 2 weeks, man.
You
So
know, I'm I'm there with you, but I gotta ride the birds.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna have to say, not being a homer on this, I just think they need to game plan better. AJ Brown's gonna be out again. They said he's gonna miss more time. So I think the hope is that they can plan a little better. They were so close. They had the game. They just can't make stupid coaching decisions and stupid play calls. And I think they should be able to hopefully contain what they can with the Saints. And I think they try to run into the ground with Barkley. He's looked phenomenal this season so far. So I'm going to say the Eagles get their comeback. It's going to be a tough one playing over New Orleans too, playing in that dome. But
hmm
I have to. It's too early in the season for me to start giving up hope.
That's gonna be a crazy game. That's probably one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most out of probably even out of the some of the primetime games. Like the primetime games are not as good as that game that I'm looking forward to with the Eagles and the Saints. So
Well,
tune in to see these games. Great matchups for week 3. We're real excited here at Touchdown Times to see how this all plays out and another exciting week of football. And we'll move on to fantasy football and coaches corner. This week we just have my team as well as Eli's team to kind of talk about and just talk about our leagues, how we're doing, and what our record came of this week. So I'll turn it over to Eli first to talk about his teams, his leagues, and how he did this week.
I had a very successful week. I went 5-0, so all five of my teams won. Um, there was a one close one that I had a game that was going that I for sure thought I was going to lose, and then I think my kicker Fairbairn went off and gave me like 15, 17 points or something, and I was playing Paulo, and his team just fell apart. He couldn't get anything going, and sadly, yeah, I was able to beat him out like 115 to I think like 100. So tough loss on his end, but I was happy to get the dub. And I don't know, with all these injuries, a lot of injury bugs have been hitting a lot of teams. Luckily, I've been relatively clean. I haven't had too many scares. I think one league I have CMC, but I still won, and I'm still going to be okay without him. But other than that, yeah, I haven't had too many issues with injuries. How are you? How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, I went 3-1 this week, so trending on the upward trajectory for me. The only loss I took was to Eli, so that was a little
Let's
disappointing
go.
in our Avengers League, but it
My
was
team went off though. There wasn't much
yeah,
you could
your
do.
team.
I had Kamara.
He had Alvin Kamara.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kamara. So he
that's what really put it away for him. But he had a great week. His team just absolutely went off in that league, and it was tough to come back even after the first couple of games that they played. So, um, other than that, it was a good week. I went three and three. I won 3 in the other leagues, and it's looking good. I have Isaiah Pacheco in one league. Luckily, I went triple RBs in that league as far as drafting. So I have Josh Jacobs to plug in there, and now I can utilize my flex as a true flex, and see play that week to week on my flex and see who's going to be in prime position to succeed. Um, Other than that, it was a good week fantasy, and it was just a great week for fantasy for me, except for that loss to Eli. I'll come back and make him pay for that later on in the season, though.
we'll see. We're playing each other a lot in that league because it's only six of us. So plenty of
Yeah.
other opportunities for my team to go off again. We'll see. So moving into waiver wire, we'll go into some guys maybe you're looking to pick up due to a lot of injuries that people are dealing with. Couple additions we've noticed that are on there for quarterback. I think the guy that should be on most people's radars and on waivers, Derek Carr. Last season, towards the end of the season, I felt like he was having a pretty solid time and being able to get a lot of connections in and putting up pretty big numbers yardage wise. So this year he's right back at it. I think he's doing very well. and easy guy to plug in if you're having struggling issues, whether you lost Tua or you're still
Hmm.
dealing with Jordan Love being out. I think he's an easy guy to stream. Just look up matchups. I think this week's matchup, they should be able to put up really solid points against not Carolina. I'm thinking the Raiders. Pretty solid points up against the Eagles. Sadly, I think he'll have a pretty solid day. Um, yeah, so I would definitely keep a lookout for him. Carson Steele, as well as Samaje Perine. That one's kind of tough. You can look into them. Just don't, if you have a budget, like a fab budget, don't blow it all because they did just sign Kareem Hunt. So you don't know how that background or that backfield's really going to play out. It could be a big committee, but I would just look out for that.
If you're trying to replace Isaiah Pacheco, and let's just say you're sticking with Kansas City here, and you're comparing Carson Steele and and P Ryan, which one are you leaning towards, and why?
I think if you want a safe floor, you go P Ryan. I think they're going to lean on him a little bit more, being a journeyman, being just having more experience as a player overall.
Hmm.
Um, I think they're just going to have more trust in him. I think with Steele, you have a lot more potential, but he's going to have to get ramped up. So if you need production now and you want to stick with that backfield, probably P Ryan's the guy to go with. Don't expect big numbers. You may have
Hmm.
one or two good weeks, but I think for now, just take him as a safe floor. Maybe get you 9 to 10 points, just something to fill in there if the running back waiver is looking a little dicey.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Another running back that a couple other running backs that are kind of on the radar for us is Ty Chandler for the Vikings. He had a pretty good production in week two. Then Cam Akers, with Joe Mixon getting hurt, we saw him, go. Have some good success in Houston's backfield there. Again, these are guys that are stepping up in those roles, in the running back roles for their teams, where maybe the primary is either hurt or dealing with some issues, and they're stepping up and filling those roles adequately enough. Quentin Johnson, a wide receiver, kind of on the radar along with Alec Pierce. They got a lot of production. Quentin Johnson had 2 touchdowns. Alec Pierce had a long touchdown, and he's been utilized back to back. It seems as though Justin Herbert and Anthony Richardson, these are the guys with the cannon arms that are just slinging it downfield, and these guys are coming away with the ball when it comes towards the long balls, and the bombs there. So definitely look into them if you're looking to pick up a wide receiver. Who are some of the other wide receivers and tight ends that we got going on for waiver wire, Eli?
I'm looking through our list. I'd probably say keep an eye on Mike Gesicki. He seems like he's being more heavily involved. I actually forgot he was even on that team until I saw his name pop up. So yeah, I would say maybe look into him. I think he could be a good streamer. Um, and then for the Rams, man, I guess you could try to go to Marcus Robinson. I
A
just feel
little
like
reach in there.
that team's going to be just a little rough overall. I don't know how well they're going to spread it out, but it's definitely something to I'd say invest in if maybe you want to have someone to hold on to on your bench, and if they have a breakout, then you could potentially utilize him later on. But I don't know. It's nothing too crazy this week for the waivers. I wouldn't say anyone to blow your fab on, but just so be smart about it. I know it's
Mhm.
going to be tough with these injuries, but we're all. It seems like we're fighting for scraps right now.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of injured tight ends, a lot of injured, star players, especially on the Rams as far as the wide receiver. Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup. I think Demarcus Robinson's a good pickup for that team, depending on how long each of those guys are out. It just seems as though that Matthew Stafford is more of a passing type of quarterback, and it's their offense. It's a lot of their offense, and they have somewhat of a balanced approach to it with Kyron Williams. But I think with this being said, depending on the matchup, they're gonna need to move the ball down the field with some passing, especially if they're playing from behind. And Demarcus Robinson's probably going to be the go-to guy for them. Maybe something to look into, even if it's just a stash for later. But overall, those are the waiver wires notable additions for week three. preview. So we're going to move into some of the biggest injuries in football coming with week two. And this is just like a list. We don't have too much information on them. If you're looking into any of these guys or you have any of these guys, just be sure to look into them, go to Fantasy Docs and kind of do your research on your own. But obviously, still dealing with the CMC issue, running back for San Francisco. Justin Jefferson, last reported day to day. So just keep an eye out for them. Rashad White had a groin injury. He didn't have too much production in his week two matchup. Kind of disappointing if you did draft him, especially early on. Then the wide receivers for the LA Rams, obviously Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp. Looks like they're going to be out for some time. Maybe go in to replace them and stay on that team. Looking at Demarcus Robinson potentially if there's no one else that piques your interest on the waiver wires. I'll throw it over to you. I know there's a couple tight ends to watch out for, and maybe some running backs and a quarterback there. But any other injuries that you think with the audience should know about?
We talked about earlier about Pacheco being out now. We have a lot of different strategies for trying to, fill in your running back role there. And then AJ Brown. AJ Brown also out of nowhere is saying he's going to miss more time. Being a
Hmm.
scratch for this game and then now potentially missing more. It's going to be really tough for the Eagles. And, if you have Devontae Smith, definitely just, well, I say for sure start him. But I've always thought Devontae Smith has played better when he has AJ Brown around him. They less double coverage, just overall better spacing for him
He
if they
didn't play
have.
bad though this last game, in my opinion. I mean, he put up like 20 something points. Like he didn't play bad.
Yeah,
To depend on, he's a good person to depend on for a wide receiver moving up to a wide receiver one role when things get hairy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
I mean, he was in the draft class with other wide receiver ones, so technically he can be a one,
hmm,
but yeah, he just I prefer to have him not double teamed. He's like a small guy,
yeah.
hard to see him get open spacing and stuff. But yeah, so AJ Brown's gonna be a little rough, and I'm hoping I'd rather have it dealt with the earlier in the season than later. So we'll see. But yeah, those are kind of the big injury news. We'll update you next week and see. Hopefully, some of these guys get better news coming out. Hopefully, the list doesn't grow. So we'll have to just wait and see for that. We'll go into best and worst performances of week two. So these performances are going to be more for guys that you probably drafted earlier in the earlier rounds and most likely are starting. Especially for the worst performances. These some bad performances by some of these guys this week. But I'll start with the best ones. Kyler Murray, 29.5 points. Great game. Him and Marvin Harrison Jr. had a day. Very happy that he was able to put up one of the best offensive performances he's had in a while. Jalen Hurts, even with the loss, 23.8 points. Very solid outing for him. He's worthy of still being a quarterback drafted early rounds. Derek Carr, as we were mentioning before, at 23.8 points. Very solid production from him. Great waiver wire pickup if you really need a quarterback. For running backs, well, we can all say it. Alvin Kamara is back. He's here. 45 points in your standard PPR leagues. Great day for him. Great day on the ground. Great day for touchdowns. Just awesome day. Devon Achane, 29 and a half points. They ran him into the ground, and with Tua being out, I think they're going to continue to utilize him as much as they can. James Cook, 28 and a half points. What can we say? He's basically that offense, and him and Josh Allen. For wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr. Thank God that man had 1 point. He was on our worst performances last week. Now he's on our best. It's great to see him switch like that, especially for being a round two pick, most likely for your draft. Props to him. DK Metcalf also had a great comeback game at 29.9 points. Seems like he's going to have that connection still. And then Malik Neighbors. This is what people were also looking for. Great investment for a rookie. If you're in dynasty or keeper leagues, this gives you a lot of hope, and you probably want to hold on to him now. Yeah, 28.7 points. Andrew, do you want to go into the worst performances of the week?
Yeah, yeah. Props to all those players and them coming out on top and having some amazing performances and top performances of week two. Moving into the worst performances, disappointing, outings that we have at the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver positions. First is Anthony Richardson for the Colts. He had a 9.86 disappointing performance there. Josh Allen, this is one of the top QBs, and he really was a hit or miss in these past couple weeks. I think he was on the top performance list last week, and now he's at the worst performance week this week. So just watch out for him. Matthew Stafford, disappointing 6.64. It doesn't look like that's trending in the right direction with Cooper Kupp out, as well as Puka Nakua. So just maybe if you have Matthew Stafford, maybe switch him out for Derek Carr. Looks like Derek Carr's trending in the right direction in that regard. Running backs, Joe Mixon. He only had an eight points. I think he walked away with an injury in that game as well. So that's kind of disappointing if you drafted Joe Mixon a little bit higher in the league. Jerome Ford, he was a sneaky kind of like sleeper in a lot of leagues that went as far as drafts. He had 7.4. We just thought we were going to see a lot more with a great matchup for Jerome Ford. I started in my flex. I was pretty disappointed in that regard. I wish I would have started Smith Jigba or somebody else, and I was really surprised that they didn't run the ball more for this game specifically. Rashad White 3.3. I think he walked away with an injury as well. I have Jerome Ford. I have Rashad White. It was disappointing on both of those fronts. Luckily they weren't in the same league. Wide receivers. Mike Evans 7.2. It looks like it was just Chris Godwin's day, and Baker Mayfield was throwing it to him. Chris Godwin had over 130 yards, put up a good performance there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tyreek Hill without Tua, disappointing 6.6. They need to get that man the ball. He's the cheetah. He's the fastest man in the NFL. They need to get him the ball. Amari Cooper 4.1. It just seems like he's very hit or miss, very streaky, and they haven't got him involved in the past 2 weeks. Hoping this is not a trend for Amari Cooper, and disappointing outing from him. They need to get him the ball as well. Tank Dell 2.3 points. This is a crowded wide receiver room, and a lot of my drafts I just avoided that altogether, the wide receiver room for the Houston Texans, and it's showing, right? You got Stephon Diggs, you have Nico Collins, and first week Stephon Diggs week, second week Nico Collins week. We'll see if Tank Dell has a third week and they can get him the ball, but disappointing 2.3 points for Tank Dell there. That wraps up our best top and worst performances of week 2. We are going to move on to the betting segment, odds and ends. And I'm going to turn this over to Savvy Sav.
All right. So, welcome to the odds and ends, our great betting segment, betting area. Come one, come all, degenerates. Um, we have our survivor picks. And like we were talking about earlier, it's been a rough 2 weeks. We started out with 3 picks, and now we're down to 1. So,
We're
it's
not
been rough.
surviving.
We're not surviving very well. We're losing it hard. So, recap: we had the Commanders and the Ravens. The Commanders was a last minute pick I decided to do personally. I wanted to go risky. I felt like they had a good chance against the Giants, and God, that game had me sweating. We didn't talk about it, but surprisingly, that was a very close one, and it was back and forth. And thank God the Commanders came out on top, or else we would have had no survivor picks anymore. So we're back in it. We're still going. And do we take another safe pick? We'll find out. Moving into the recap of the bets that we made last week, I had teaser, parlay, and then just a regular bet. Sadly, I went 1 and 2. So my teaser lost. I had Baltimore -3 in the Chargers money line. Chargers got it. I was happy. And then Baltimore fell apart at the end, man. I really thought we were gonna be able to cover and we'd get the teaser, but couldn't get that one. The other loss we had was the parlay. The damn Eagles messed it all up. We had the Chiefs money line, Eagles money line, and Steelers -3. First two hit on Sunday. I was really excited. It was plus 256. I was about to win, a little chunk of change and couldn't get it. Eagles ended up losing that one. So close. It was terrible, rough loss there. But I bet on Washington. I took them at -1.5, and that hit. So I was very happy with that. Glad at least one of those teams did it for me. And yeah, so 1 and 2 on those. I kind of like this format. I think I'm gonna try to do one regular straight up spread bet, a teaser, and then a fun little parlay. I think that kind of, make it interesting and make me think a little more when I'm trying to put these together. For the upsets, we started out. Both of us are 1-0 for our upsets. I had the Bucks over the Lions, that hit, and then Andrew took the Saints over the Cowboys. If only we parlayed those two together, that could have made some money. But that's okay. Maybe in the future. We'll see if we can both go 2-0 during a week. For player props, for our prop bets, if you guys happen to tail or do any of these, we went 2-2, so not the best, not the best performance, but Sean Watson, he hit his under, and Jonathan Taylor went over his rushing. But Josh Allen just did not have to do much that game, so his over
Doo
on
doo.
passing was bad. And Rashad White got hurt, so it's a little rough. He did not hit his over for rushing yards. So yeah, 2-2. Hopefully we'll do better this time for you guys. Um, Moving into week three, let's see if we can win a little bit.
I'm gonna go over some of the underdog bets real quick. Jump in here on the player
Okay, yeah,
props. I had two wins. I had Aaron Jones losing a fumble. That was a great multiplier for me. And Deebo Samuel going over 55 receiving yards, and CeeDee Lamb scoring a touchdown. Won $79 off a $10 bet there. And then I have the Monday night game. I had Jake Elliott doing two field goals, Bijan Robinson going over 68 rushing yards, and Devontae Smith scoring a touchdown, won me an additional $33. So my bank account's looking good in underdog right now, $550 plus, and I'm stoked on that. So we'll see what comes in week three.
nice, nice, looking good there, looking good. All right, let's try to win some money, guys. So with that, we'll go into our week three bets. Some fun ones that I'm liking. First, let's go over our survivor pick. All right, so a lot of lots riding on this one. We can't mess this up because we only have one left. No more chances, right? So we can't choose the Saints or the Commanders. Those are the last two that I chose for this one. So safe bet. I don't even know if this is safe anymore now that I've talked it over and thought about it. I had the Niners over the Rams, but who knows anymore? That could be. You'd think the Niners, even without Debo, without Christian McCaffrey, the Rams are so depleted that the Niners, but they're going to LA. That's pretty much a home game for them. They just go down there, and I think they can. They should be able to handle it. I think they scheme very well, and the Rams don't give them that much trouble. Um, that's the safe pick. I have three risky plays, and I don't know how risky they are, but we could see. So I do have Seattle over the Dolphins. I know I just picked the Dolphins earlier, but if you want to be kind of safe and follow the trends, Seattle is supposed to win. Cleveland over the Giants. A lot of people like this, and myself included, because the Giants are just bad. They're just bad, and we all can see that. And Cleveland has a tough schedule coming up when they play against their division, when it comes to Steelers, the Ravens. So it's going to be tough for them. I think this would be the game that you decide to pick them, so you don't have to pick them later in the season. And anyone playing the Giants, I think, with that defense too, I know they haven't shown up a whole lot, but I still have a lot of faith that Cleveland defense. They should give Daniel Jones hell, and I think that should be a solid win. So that sounded like a safer bet to me. Then the other option we have is the Raiders over the Panthers. I actually kind of oppose that now because I don't know what it's going to be like with Andy Dalton. The Raiders may be looking really hot, and I can see them stumbling for some reason. So I don't know. I kind of talked myself into Cleveland. What do you think?
I'd agree. I'd agree. I think the Cleveland over the Giants is probably a good bet. Personally, I think this is a game that that Cleveland comes together and they need a win. And like you said, they need a win now because the division's going to come up and it's going to be a hard division matchup for that division, the AFC North. With that being said, the Giants' offense is Neighbors, right? It's Malik Neighbors, and I think they can stop one person. And other than that, they got to put a stop to Devin Singletary. I think the Cleveland defensive line can do so. I think it would be great to trust Cleveland on this one here and keep the survivor pick alive here.
All right. So I think we're going with it. We're going Cleveland over the Giants, and tune in next week and see if we're happy or disappointed. We'll find out. We'll go into my bets of the week. So following that, I actually had this already down. My favorite spread bet, Cleveland -6. I think if we're going to go all in on Cleveland, let's go all in. I'm going to say they kick the crap out of this team. So I think they're going to win by more than a touchdown. Uh, I kind of hate putting faith in Deshaun Watson right now, but I think they can control the game defensively and not keep it too close. So I'll give it to Cleveland on this at -6. I'm gonna have a teaser. So this one, like a teaser, you take two teams and it'll bring down their numbers and give you slightly worse odds than a straight up bet. But It's a little better, um, I guess, better spreads that you want to have. So my teaser, we're gonna take Tampa Bay and we're gonna take the Jets. I think Tampa Bay, we're gonna bring it down to -1. Um, they are playing the who are they playing this week? Uh, we're gonna have to cut this out. Sorry. Let me redo that. Okay. So I just talked about Cleveland and one, two, three. The next what we'll do is a teaser. The teaser bet that we're gonna have is we're taking two teams. We're gonna have the spreads get brought down, and we're gonna take Tampa Bay. They are playing the Broncos. The spread right now is at 6.5 for or in the Bucks' favor. I'm gonna say they're going to get drawn down to -1. So they basically just have to win the game, which I think they can do. Tampa Bay should be able to handle the Broncos. I don't really have a lot of faith in that offense for Denver, and I think anyone can go off offensively for the Bucks. The other one I'll take is the Jets. We're going to take that spread and also have it brought down to -0.5. So that's basically a pick 'em. They just have to win the game. So I think if we tease Tampa Bay and the Jets together, uh, they should be able to both win. And yeah, it's -120. So you put down 100, you win $80. I think that's still pretty solid. And I'm liking those odds. Lastly, I have my parlay. This one we're gonna ride some teams. I kind of like how we did last week. I'm gonna choose two money lines and then a spread. So two favorites that I think should win at least. Doesn't have to worry about the spread at all, just win. Kansas City and San Francisco. I know we just debated on San Francisco, but I'll put it in the parlay. I think them and Kansas City hopefully can just take the dubs. And then I'm going to ride the hot hand with Pittsburgh. They got it. They hit their leg last week at -3. So they're -2 this week. I'm going to take them with those three plays. That's plus 237. So put in $100, you win $230. Um, but yeah, so that's my regular spread bet, teaser, and a parlay. Do you have any thoughts on that, Andrew?
Yeah, I think after discussing that Cleveland game, I think if we're going all in on Cleveland, you switch out SF for Cleveland at that one for the money line.
See, like item in the parlay, you rather have Cleveland?
Yeah, yeah. That's just my opinion. I mean, obviously it's your money, do what you want, but that's probably that would be my thoughts on that. If we're writing Cleveland for the survivor, if we're writing Cleveland for just the money line altogether, throw them in the parlay too, and Cleveland, you better come through.
To have this Cleveland podcast today. Let's do it. Let's do it. Maybe we should change up our trivia question just for a Cleveland one. How many times has Cleveland disappointed us? We'll see. So, all right. So that was the bets of the week. If you guys want to tag along or trail any of these bets, we'll see how we do. We'll move into our upset of the week. So we're both 1-0. So let's see who gets our first loss for the upsets. My upset of the week, I'm gonna go Panthers over the Raiders. I think this spread's pretty big at 5.5. But for the Raiders, I don't know if they should be favored by that much this season. We'll see. But I think with Andy Dalton stepping in, Bryce Young being benched. By the way, poor Bryce Young, man. That man, there
Rough
was
start
videos
to
of
his
him
career.
tearing up, like he was just having a terrible time on Sunday. So I think with Andy Dalton, they're going to try to see who they have that's actually viable in this offense. They're probably going to figure out who they want to keep in the long run. So I think this is a game where I think everyone steps up. There's new life into this offense. Defense, I can't say much for, but maybe overall the vibes will change in that locker room if they switch it up. You have a veteran guy like Andy Dalton. So I think them going up against the Raiders, I think the Raiders did fine and well against the Ravens. It was a great win on their end, but I don't know how consistent they can be. So I think that's my thought process on picking the Panthers to win this game, but they're going to be my upset of the week. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I got the Jags over the Bills. This is a must win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, Etienne. I want to see him do well. I have Etienne on a couple of my teams, and he needs to pick it up. I think they need to get him the ball. I think this is a must win for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think them traveling to or them getting a W over the Buffalo Bills will spark that winning record that they need and they want to have. I think it'll I think this is the week for them, and there's a lot on the line for them. So I think they're going to be playing with, some intensity and really wanting that win. I think after Josh Allen not having the best performance in week two, on top of that, not really having a clear cut wide receiver one or even tight end to get the ball to, it just seems as though if they can stop James Cook and Josh Allen, they have a good chance of winning. The spread is 5.5. The Bills are taking it, but I think the Jags, come by and eke a win either by a point or a field goal here. It'll be a close game, but I hope the Jacksonville Jaguars come through. That'll be the upset of the week for me at more than 3.5.
Nice, nice. All right, so those are our upsets of the week. We'll tune in next week and see how we do. We'll move into some quick player props for underdog and prize picks. Hopefully these do okay this week. We're gonna pick a gimme bet as well, which is a pretty much an automatic win bet. That one's gonna be CD Lamb basically has to get a yard. So you compare that with these two other bets that I was looking at. I'm going to go George Pickens over 50 and a half receiving yards. Doesn't matter if Justin Fields or Russell Wilson start. I think Pickens is going to be their go-to guy. And with this game, like I said, I see them winning this game. I hoping that their offensive production can kick up. And I believe he's got a good shot at getting over those yardage. And then Sam Darnold won it over at least one interception. I'm going to say that should happen. Sam Darnold's already thrown an interception in the past two games. They're playing the Texans, who have also gotten at least one interception in the past two games. I know there's always regression, and it can't always stay consistent like that. But I'm gonna just ride this trend, and I'm gonna say that he throws another pick. It's Sam Darnold. He still has some issues when it comes to accuracy, so there's a lot of potential for there. But yeah, those are going to be our three underdog slash prize picks. The numbers might slightly vary, but I still like those lines overall. But yeah, that concludes our odds and ends betting segment. Good luck to every bettor degenerate out there, and let's try to win some money. All right, so moving lastly into the trivia question. We'll go into our recap from last week and then have a new trivia question for you guys. So the question from last week was which teams played in the first Thursday night football game? And bonus points if you can say the year. So the options were the Raiders versus Chargers, Broncos versus Chiefs, Eagles versus Giants, and Browns versus Steelers. I believe three people voted, and everyone had a different vote. So congrats to whoever chose the Broncos versus the Chiefs. This game was played in 2006, so we're almost coming up on 18. We're at 18 years now since we started the first Thursday night football game. A great addition, honestly. It's
Yeah.
just always better when you have more football during the week. Um, but yeah, so that was our trivia recap from week two. And week three, in honor of your boy Bryce Young, sadly having a tough time in the NFL and just getting benched, we're going to look on the lighter side of his career. And the question will be, how many touchdowns did Bryce Young have in college? Options are going to be 69, 75, 80, and 87. So feel free to go into our poll section of Spotify, go ahead and give your answer, and we'll get back to you guys next week on what the correct one is. Any other thoughts, Andrew?
No, just thanks for tuning in, guys. Another exciting week of football and touchdown times. Thanks for all the support. Follow us on Instagram, touchdown times 95, and feel free to reach out to us via email or shoot us each individual a text if you guys do have our numbers. Love to hear any feedback, any support that you guys have. Keeps us going, and just thanks for all the support out there. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. All right. Appreciate you guys listening, and we'll tune in next week.
All right, signing off, Alo.
Have you
Peace.
safe. Peace.